The most expensive dinner in my house usually starts with one sentence: "There's nothing to eat." Not because the kitchen is actually empty, because I'm tired, nothing is planned, and everything I can think of feels like too much work. That is exactly when takeout starts looking reasonable. So I stopped trying to plan a perfect dinner for every night. Instead, I started keeping 10 foods at home specifically for the nights when I am tired, hungry, and about 5 minutes away from ordering something. Eggs can become dinner in 10 minutes. Frozen vegetables never need rescuing from the crisper drawer. And number 7 has probably prevented more last-minute food orders in my house than anything else on this list. Let's start with the food I reach for when dinner plans completely fall apart. Number 1, eggs. Eggs are my first emergency food because they do not require a plan. I do not have to thaw them. I do not have to marinate them. I do not have to remember what recipe I bought them for. I can open the refrigerator and immediately make something. Scrambled eggs with toast, eggs over leftover rice, an omelet with vegetables, egg tacos, fried eggs over potatoes, breakfast sandwiches. Even a few leftovers that do not look like dinner can become dinner once eggs are involved. Half an onion, a handful of frozen vegetables, a little cheese, maybe some potatoes from yesterday. Put that in a skillet and add eggs. Now I have a meal. And this is important. Emergency foods do not need to create impressive dinners. They need to create dinners that are easier than opening a delivery app. That is the standard. If the homemade option takes 45 minutes and leaves 3 pans in the sink, it is not competing fairly with takeout. Eggs compete because they are fast. Number 2, frozen vegetables. This is probably the most dependable vegetable in my kitchen. Fresh vegetables are wonderful, but fresh vegetables also have opinions about when they need to be eaten. Frozen vegetables do not care. They wait. Broccoli, peas, corn, green beans, spinach, mixed vegetables. I can take out one handful and put the rest back. That means I always have something to add to rice, pasta, eggs, soup, or a skillet meal. And this is where frozen vegetables save me twice. First, they make dinner faster. Second, they stop me from looking at an empty crisper drawer and deciding that I have no ingredients. One bag of mixed vegetables plus eggs can become a skillet. Add rice and it becomes fried rice. Add pasta and a simple sauce and dinner changes again. This is why I prefer plain frozen vegetables for emergency cooking. The vegetables covered in sauce can be convenient, but they usually point you toward one specific meal. Plain vegetables can go anywhere, and flexibility is what keeps you from ordering food. Number 3, cooked rice. I used to think rice was only useful if I had already planned a dinner around it. Now I think about rice as emergency food. When I cook rice, I often make extra. We eat part of it that night, then I cool the extra promptly and store it properly for another meal. Sometimes I refrigerate it, sometimes I freeze portions. Because cooked rice turns almost nothing into dinner. Rice plus eggs and vegetables? Fried rice. Rice plus beans? Rice bowl. Rice plus chicken? Dinner. Rice plus tomatoes and seasoning? Completely different dinner. And the most important part is this: the rice is already cooked. That removes one more decision when I am tired. If I know I have cooked rice waiting, dinner starts feeling possible. And sometimes that tiny difference is enough. Because takeout usually wins when every step feels inconvenient. You do not need to eliminate every step. You only need to eliminate enough of them. Number 4, tortillas. Tortillas may be one of the easiest ways to make leftovers look like a new meal. A small amount of chicken does not look exciting in a container. Put it inside a tortilla with cheese and vegetables? Now it is a wrap. Beans? Tacos. Eggs? Breakfast burritos. Rice, beans, and cheese? Another meal. Leftover vegetables? Quesadilla. And tortillas take up almost no preparation time. That matters on the nights when I do not want to cook. Sometimes I do not need a recipe. I need a container that holds whatever I already have. That is what tortillas do. They turn scraps into something you can eat with one hand. And if I know we will not finish the package quickly, I can freeze some so they do not go to waste. The first 4 foods on this list help me cook fast. But the next group becomes even more important, because these are the foods I keep for nights when I barely want to cook at all. Number 5. Canned beans. Beans are one of the easiest foods to turn into a filling meal without much work. If I am using canned beans, most of the cooking is already done. Drain them if the recipe calls for it, season them, heat them. Dinner can be 5 minutes away. Beans and rice, bean tacos, beans over baked potatoes, bean soup, a quick bean and cheese quesadilla, beans with tomatoes and spices. You can even mash them and use them as a filling, and they solve one of the biggest emergency dinner problems. You need something substantial. A plate of vegetables alone may not satisfy everyone. A little rice by itself may not feel like dinner. Beans make those foods feel more complete. I do keep dried beans too. They are excellent when I have time to cook them. But emergency food logic is different. The entire purpose is to remove friction. So canned beans earn a place in my kitchen because they are already waiting. Number 6. Pasta. There is a reason pasta shows up in so many emergency dinners. It is difficult to make dinner feel impossible when there is pasta in the cabinet. You can make a tomato sauce. You can toss it with oil, garlic, and vegetables. You can add chicken. You can add beans. You can make a quick, creamy sauce. You can even turn leftovers into a pasta dish. The mistake is thinking pasta requires a complicated sauce. It does not. Sometimes dinner is pasta, frozen broccoli, olive oil, garlic, salt, and cheese. That is enough. And it is ready faster than a delivery order would arrive. One thing I learned is to keep at least one pasta shape everyone in the house actually likes. Not the unusual shape I bought because it looked interesting. Not the specialty box for one recipe. The reliable one. Emergency food should be boring in the pantry and useful on the plate. And now we get to number 7. This is the one that has rescued more tired evenings than almost anything else for me. Number 7. Cooked chicken. Not raw chicken I still need to remember to thaw. Cooked chicken. That can mean leftover roast chicken, rotisserie chicken when I buy one, chicken I cooked earlier and froze in portions. Anything that means the difficult part is already finished. Because once the chicken is cooked, I can make chicken tacos, chicken sandwiches, chicken pasta, chicken rice bowls, chicken soup, chicken quesadillas, chicken with frozen vegetables. Even a small amount can stretch through a meal when I combine it with rice, beans, pasta, or vegetables. This is why I stopped looking at leftovers as something I need to get rid of. Cooked chicken in the refrigerator is not a problem. It is tomorrow's shortcut. And if I have too much, I freeze some before everybody gets tired of eating it. That is the bigger strategy behind this entire video. Do work once when you have energy, and let tired you benefit later. Because the worst time to expect yourself to make a smart dinner decision is when you are already hungry. Number 8. Bread. Bread is not glamorous, but I would rather have useful bread than another complicated meal plan. Toast with eggs, chicken sandwich, peanut butter toast, cheese toast, soup with bread, a quick open-faced sandwich using leftovers. Bread can turn a collection of small foods into a meal, and it solves another problem. Some nights, I do not need dinner to be creative. I need dinner to happen. If I know we are not going to finish the loaf in time, I freeze part of it. Then I can take out only what I need. That one habit has prevented a lot of moldy bread from going into the trash. And frozen bread is surprisingly useful. Toast it directly. Use it for sandwiches after thawing. Turn older slices into French toast. Emergency foods become much more valuable when they do not create another waste problem. Number 9. Cheese. Cheese is the food that makes several emergency meals feel intentional. Eggs and cheese, beans and cheese, tortillas and cheese, pasta and cheese, bread and cheese, potatoes and cheese, vegetables with cheese. You do not need much. That is part of the reason I like keeping it around. A little can add flavor and make basic ingredients more satisfying. I usually prefer a block because I can slice it, cube it, or grate it depending on the meal. But this is one of those places where convenience can absolutely win. If shredded cheese saves you enough time that you actually make dinner, buy the shredded cheese. Remember the goal. We are not trying to win an award for doing everything ourselves. We are trying to make home food easier than takeout. And that brings us to number 10. This one requires a little planning, but it may be the strongest defense against takeout on this entire list. Number 10. One homemade meal in the freezer. Not an ingredient. A complete meal. Soup. Chili. Pasta sauce. A casserole. Cooked beans. A curry. Whatever your household actually likes. When I cook something that freezes well, I try to save one portion. Not because I want leftovers tomorrow, because I know there will eventually be a night when I want absolutely nothing to do with cooking. That is the night this meal is for. Imagine coming home tired. You look in the freezer. Instead of seeing random ingredients that still require work, you see dinner. Already cooked. Already seasoned. Already something you know you like. That changes the decision completely. And this is where I think many people misunderstand meal prep. You do not need to spend Sunday making 20 identical containers. You do not need to cook an entire week in one afternoon. Just occasionally cook a little more than you need. Freeze one dinner, then another. Over time, you build a small collection. One chili, one soup, one pasta sauce, maybe some cooked chicken. Suddenly, the freezer becomes your own little takeout counter, except you already paid for it, and you already know what is in it. Those are my 10. Eggs, frozen vegetables, cooked rice, tortillas, canned beans, pasta, cooked chicken, bread, cheese, and at least one complete homemade meal in the freezer. Notice what is missing. Complicated ingredients. Specialty sauces, foods that only belong to one recipe. None of these foods needs to be exciting by itself. They are useful because they connect. Eggs connect to tortillas. Tortillas connect to beans. Beans connect to rice. Rice connects to chicken. Chicken connects to bread. Bread connects to cheese. Cheese connects to pasta. Frozen vegetables connect to almost everything. That is what I want from emergency food. Not a pantry full of random options. A small group of foods that work together. And there is one more thing I started doing that made this system work much better. I stopped asking, "What do I want for dinner?" That question is dangerous when I am tired. Because once I start imagining restaurant food, suddenly nothing in my refrigerator sounds good. Instead, I ask, what can I make in 15 minutes with what I already have? Very different question. Maybe the answer is eggs and toast. Fine. Maybe it is quesadillas. Great. Maybe chicken rice bowls. Perfect. The goal is not producing the best dinner of your life every Tuesday. The goal is feeding yourself without turning exhaustion into a $40 decision. And I also learned that emergency food has to match your household. If nobody likes beans, do not keep beans because I told you to. Maybe your emergency protein is tuna. Maybe tofu. Maybe frozen meatballs. If your family does not eat tortillas, keep another quick carbohydrate. If you never eat soup, do not fill your freezer with soup. The system only works when the food actually gets eaten. So here is what I would do this week. Do not buy all 10 foods. Look at the nights when you usually order takeout. What happened? Were you too tired to cook? Was the meat still frozen? Did you have ingredients but no complete meal? Did nothing sound good? Did you simply need something faster? Then build your emergency foods around that problem. If thawing meat is the issue, keep cooked chicken. If vegetables keep spoiling, keep frozen vegetables. If you always need something fast for the kids, keep tortillas, eggs, bread, and cheese. If you order food because you truly cannot cook after work, start freezing one complete meal every time you make something that freezes well. You are not building a perfect kitchen. You are building a backup plan. And a good backup plan is one you can use while tired. That is the part that matters. Because when dinner goes wrong, you are not competing with another homemade recipe. You are competing with a phone. A few taps, food arrives. That is incredibly convenient. So your food at home has to be convenient too. Not every night, just enough nights to stop takeout from becoming the automatic answer. Tell me in the comments, what is the one food you always keep at home for nights when you do not want to cook? And what is the meal you order most often when your dinner plans fall apart? I want to know both. And if you found this useful, subscribe. Next, I want to show you the 10 grocery foods I stopped throwing away once I learned how to store them properly.